All on camera. So.
I think we got our opening. What's up, guys? Welcome to Extreme Daily Drivers, where we're always balling on a budget and wrenching in our garage. We are getting this engine ready to go to a new home, trying to get it set up, staged at the end of the garage, so when the guy comes, he can just pick it up and take it. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by the garage for today's video. Today we're going to put as much stuff as we can on our donated 1.8 liter engine from our buddy TJ. So Kelly is going to do the majority of this work today. We got lots of stuff to put on here, man. Are you ready for this?
Yes, I am. I'm looking forward to getting everything in place and into the engine bay.
Okay, so we actually have a ton of stuff to reinstall in this engine, and I don't know about you, Kel, but over the last 5 months or however long it was since the engine video where we disassembled everything, there's a lot of stuff on here that I can't remember where it goes. I mean, I know it goes on here, and I'm sure we can figure it out, but we're going to have a lot of fumbling around to do to get everything kind of put in its place. For starters, let's just talk about the intake manifold. So the intake manifold goes on this side, and you guys might notice that all the studs are removed. Okay, I went ahead and removed all the studs. To give you an idea what I'm talking about, is the intake side. This is the exhaust side, and you can see over here the studs are still on the exhaust side. Okay, so I went ahead and removed all those. It's really easy to do. All you do is kind of double up a nut on top of another nut, tighten them up real tight, and then you can loosen it and pull the whole stud out. But the reason I did that is because we cleaned up our intake, where it's pretty darn awesome, man.
That's great.
It's pretty sweet, and I don't want to just take this thing and throw it on a whole bunch of ugly studs. So instead, we went to Ace Hardware and got a bunch of these stainless steel, beautiful looking screws and washers, or bolts and washers. And then once installed, I mean, look how pretty that's going to be. That's going to be awesome. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
All right. So we're going to prep this area here on the intake, clean it up a little bit more, and then maybe we'll start with installing the intake manifold. Sounds good?
That sounds good. So what are you doing with this stone, or whatever that is?
So we had some paint that was left over on here from the people who painted this engine, who shall remain nameless. But I was trying to get it off with a razor blade. Razor blades can actually do some damage on this aluminum. And what I always do when I'm getting aluminum ready for mating is I take a knife sharpener, which is what this stone is. I use the fine side. It's split in half, and if you see that, it's the coarse side, there's the fine side. And you spray some lubricant on there, in this case WD-40, and you just run it over here. And what that does is it cleans the surface and makes it uniform. And since this is such a narrow surface, I can safely place this over it and run it straight and not have to worry about going over rounding a corner off or something like that. It gets it ready for our gasket that we're about to install, as well as giving it a nice clean surface.
Got the top.
Yeah. Alright, so we got the intake on. We didn't get every bolt in, and the reason is that when I went to the hardware store, they had these and they had the shorter version. These are a little too long. I hoped that these would work, but they're too long. So we're short a couple bolts. We'll have to go back to the hardware store and get what we need there. But for right now, Kelly is going to install this, which is our EGR valve. The guys over at Net Motorsports straightened us out and told us what that was. I thought it was a fast idle valve. I mentioned it in the last video, but it is an EGR valve. All right, so next up we're going to install the crank angle sensor. Once again, the guys at Net Motorsports straightened us out. I can't remember what this was in the last video. But it's the crank angle sensor. It goes here on the exhaust cam, and it has a little notch cut out there. It slides right on, like so. And then put a little bolt in here. I guess this gets adjusted when you're setting timing. which obviously we're going to do once the car is actually running. But for now, we'll just kind of set it in the middle, and we'll get a rag and we'll clean this up because it's a mess. All right, so we're getting ready to put the timing belt on, and we finally have all the pieces we need in order to do this job. Kelly is going to go ahead and start to work on it, and hopefully we get the timing belt on. No issues. Oh man, take a look at this. Huh? Look. You see that?
Empty.
Empty. No more V8. Oh my God, thank God. A buddy of mine's co-worker came by and picked it up. It's going to a good home. The guy's going to use it for, what did he say he had? He had a Ford.
Some sort of Ford.
He has like 2 Fords, man.
He's a Mustang and something else.
Does he have a Mustang?
I thought he said he had a Mustang.
He might have had a Mustang. He definitely has some sort of suburban, or it's not suburban, it's a Explorer? Maybe it's an Explorer.
I was talking about Mustangs.
Anyway, he's going to use it, so it's awesome. We were able to kind of pay forward, and he's going to actually do something with it. That engine did actually turn over by hand. There's really nothing wrong with it other than it was a Ford, so and a V8. So the good news is that thing is gone. Our crane is now empty again, and Kelly and I are going to resume what we were doing earlier. So, back to the crank here, okay?
Put that on there.
We got this guy on. If you guys watched my video that I did a couple months ago about this kind of fix for our damaged crank here, we got the crank gear on, we got the woodruff key, extended woodruff key in there, and now we got this guy over here, which, right, so we have our old pulley, and if you look inside this pulley here, I cleaned up a little bit, but flip it over that way. Do you see how it's been chipped there? See how it's damaged? So the cool thing about these pulleys is that this part here is actually totally replaceable. Okay, so I got this from Treasure Coast Mazda. This is the same place that Ricer Miata goes to get parts all the time. It's right by his house down there in South Florida. So we are going to, if you flip that over, we're going to replace these 10 millimeter bolts and then install this, and we actually got new bolts that go with it. So, all right, so we got the 4 bolts out. Actually, it was really easy, but you know this thing's just not going to come apart. We're going to have to, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh, nice.
Wait a minute.
Just a little extra,
You know what happened? You know what happened?
You gotta threaten it.
Is I got this out. And then all of a sudden, this thing changed its tune really quick, man. Now all of a sudden it's like, no, I'll come right out. No, it's no problem at all. I know I've been in there for 30 years, but no, I'm going to come right out now. You don't need that hammer.
Just a good old-fashioned threat.
Yeah,
oh, nice.
That, huh? Comes right apart.
Nice.
Awesome. That guy. All right, so we got the new insert on there. Flip that guy over, right? Nice and new. Mm-hmm. And now, do you remember what to do?
I watched a guy called Extreme Daily Drivers. He has a video on this, and yep, we're gonna spray that down.
Yeah.
And
here, actually, let me spray inside there too. Let's see if this is gonna work. Like that kind of Extreme Daily Driver said it would.
He promised.
Does it fit in there? Here, let me get that squirt.
Oh, like butter.
Like swimwear. Now we got the bolt down here. Go ahead and screw that guy in. So that bolt's going to sandwich it all together, and we pretty much just fixed our screwed up crank.
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we got the motor mounts installed on the passenger side as well as on the driver's side. I went ahead and cleaned these up with just some Rust-Oleum, and they turned out sweet, man. I mean, they look awesome. No one's ever going to see it, but we know it's cool. So Kelly is now opening up the timing belt kit and finding out that there's a lot of directions in here on how to put this guy on.
What the hell?
That can't be too hard.
Who can see this?
I could, not me.
Oh my gosh.
I'd have to take a photo of that and make it bigger, larger.
Oh Lord. All right.
All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and tackle this guy, see if we can get this thing thrown on. Alright guys, so we have the book, we have that extra book, we have the directions that came with the timing belt, and we're still finding ourselves on the internet trying to find the best way to do this. And I'll tell you a real quick funny story. I bought this car from a guy who races Miatas. I've told you about him in the past. His name is Junior. And I asked him, I said, dude, is there anything special about putting the timing belt on I need to know? And he's like, don't listen to the book, don't listen to anything, just line stuff up and put it on. So that's kind of, I learned that messing with my Prelude as well. I tried listening to the book one time, wanted to totally screw me up. So that's what we did. We threw it on. But here, let me show you real quick what we did. We lined everything up properly. So I gotta get my goggles off here. This is the intake cam. So I is lined up with the eye. It's kind of hard to see on here, but that's what this is a timing belt guide. This black plastic or this black metal cover here. So the eye's lined up with the eye. Now over on the exhaust side, the E doesn't match up perfectly with the E over here, but according to the book, that's okay. That's how it goes on. And then down here, we have the notch on our cam gear. It's a hair off right now, but we're not finished with this yet. But that needs to be lined up with a little arrow there. So once you have those three things lined up, you should be good to go. And the last part is always like the hardest part, and that is putting this spring on. So I'm like, I got my goggles on and gloves, and Kelly's working the camera because getting this spring from one side of the tensioner pulley to the actual little mount here is super hard, man. This thing is just dying to take your eye out. Alright guys, Kelly and I have been at this for a while, so we are getting close to wrapping this up, but we just did something awesome, right?
We did.
We got the time belt on. Alright guys, so here's the book. Do you see how the E on the exhaust cam is a little off with the E on the cam gear? And do you see how on the intake side the eye is perfectly lined up with the indentation on the timing belt plate? So we just rotated this engine at least 3 times, and if you check it out, we are equal with the book. Our E on the exhaust cam is a little bit past the notch, but on the intake side, we're dead on. All right, and then if you look down here, can you see in there? We are dead on right there. So we got this thing set up, man, and we did get that spring on. It wasn't easy, but we used some needle nose pliers and some brute force, and we made that happen. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and put the valve cover on for real. We're gonna put spark plugs in, spark plug wires, and we're gonna install our igniter. Give us like 10 to 20 minutes, and we'll get this stuff on there. All right, guys, shocker, it is the next day, and we couldn't finish what we started yesterday because I didn't have any stupid RTV seal. So I had to run to the auto parts store. We got it now, so we're gonna go ahead and finish this thing up.
Turn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, guys, we got a good amount done. What do you think of this thing, man? Comment below. She is looking sweet. Starting to look like an engine that will actually go into a car. So we still do have work to do on this, man. You might say to yourself, man, this thing's ready to go in. It's still got a lot of work to do. Gotta put the alternator on. We want to change the oil pan gasket out, and a couple other little things. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for following Kelly and I along in this week's video. We'll be back next Tuesday, and this baby is going to be going in, I promise. So have a great week, and you have anything else to say?
Hit that bell, subscribe, follow.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram.
Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
KMA224.
She does a lot of filming on her cell phone, so make sure you give her a sub. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Later.